rain, and then the cool pursed lips of the wind draw them from the ground, red and yellow skulls pummeling upwards through leaves, through grasses, through sand, astonishing in their suddenness, their quietude, their wetness. They appear on fall mornings on one hoof, packed with poison. Others billowing chunkily and delicious. Those who know go out to gather, choosing the benign from flocks of glitterers, sorcerers, russulas, panther caps, shark white death angels in their torn veils looking innocent as sugar, but full of paralysis. To eat is to stagger down as fast as the mushrooms themselves when they are done being perfect, and overnight slide back under the shining fields of rain. All right, that's mushrooms. Thank you. Well, spring is just around the corner. It's tomorrow, and a little hard to believe in some ways, isn't it? Yes. But I have a few proofs of the season gathered just this morning that we're going to pass around. So we're not just going to look at pictures, but we're going to see the real thing. And let me introduce that by showing you where I was this morning. I took out a family, and we gathered mushrooms and even more wild plants. So this was just about a couple hours ago, and this is a whole list of what we found in red, and then in green. I know you can't read it, but I will pass around some of these, are the things we saw that would be available another time during the year. And this is just to give you an impression that we live in a Garden of Eden. There's tons of wild food here. You don't even have to plant. In fact, most of these you probably pull out of your garden as weeds. And we're going to meet some of them, and you'd say, oh, I can't believe that was edible. So that's what we're going to learn a little bit about today, how to eat the right foods. Most of us are afraid to do that, like you heard in the poem, you know? Mushrooms are deadly, right? So yeah, they can be. And they can be delicious too, which is why I have my cooking gear here. So by the end, those of you who are still here and haven't been scared away, will get to taste some of them too. So that's what I do, and let's not leave that one up too long, that will scare you away. I take people mushroom hunting. And you may be surprised. I showed these pictures to my mom. She said, that's not going to be very encouraging. I said, what do you mean? Why? Can you tell why? You have to look closely. She has skull and crossbones on her shirt. Funny, huh? Do you recognize this mushroom?
No.
Anyone?
Morel?
That's right, this is morel. M-O-R-E-L. And they're not out yet. I have people going out tomorrow morning with me hoping to find them, and I had to send them an email. Sorry, foragers can't be choosers. So you take what you can get. And let's see what we got today. Well, let's start with one of the most underappreciated wild foods. Does that look like anything?
Chives.
Yeah, and this is wild chives, so wild onion. And I've got plenty to spare, so we'll pass it around. And if you're excited enough, you take a little piece and eat it. But if you smell it, you'll know that is garlic. So I'll just hand it to you. You can tell from the smell. Yeah. People seen that in their yard? They call this lawnmower grass because you smell it when you mow the lawn. It smells like onions, right? Yeah. So you may not like it straight, but great in anything you'd use onions or garlic for. And here's another one. Anyone try to pull that out of your garden before? If you don't, it spews all kinds of tiny seeds. A few weeks later, this is a good question. What is this? This is bitter cress. Bitter cress. You heard of watercress, right? Or wintercress. This is a miniature version of it. And I guess I could walk around with it. So, yeah, you know what? There's a lot of this around. I'm going to pass it around too. Feel free to crush some, because believe me, when I got there, today I actually gave this talk, or walk, at Warren Wilson College. And this was in the gardens. And the gardener said, you know, it's so cold today, I'm supposed to be out there weeding, and I'm really glad you're doing it for me. So I'll pass this out, and feel free to, you know, nibble or smell. And you know what it'll smell like? Mustard, or taste like it. That one is onion, and this is related to broccoli, horseradish, cauliflower. They're all mustard, kale, and of course, watercress. Is the volume good now? Yes. Okay, great. So this is all from this morning, and I didn't count, but I think the list had 12 or 15 things, and there are about 40 things that are common out there right now that you can eat. And so this is where, when I got to Asheville 20 years ago, I decided how I'd survive. I didn't want a job. I didn't want to have to make money to buy my food, and that's how I got started. Now, if you have any questions at any time, just go ahead and yell or raise your hand, and I'm happy to answer them. See, so far I haven't shown you any mushrooms, but they're coming. This will be within the next month or so, and they could even be in your backyard, and I might be back to take some of you out looking. Here's the next thing. What does this look like? It's very hard, right? You know, they say there are a lot of look-alikes, but not a lot of smell-alikes. So we'll pass this around. It's scratch and sniff. The smell, I'm not going to tell you what it is until it goes around, and then we'll see if anyone can guess from the smell. It should be really familiar, but you really have to scratch it to smell it. Someone already, not so loud, someone already knows what it is. Probably one of my favorite smells of anything. And that I did not find today, but you know, foragers don't just live on what you find that day, even though that's what the TV shows are like, right? They drop you in the woods and you have to survive. It's a lot easier than that when you can save, like I saved these from last year. So let's see. So this show that I have on here is about mushrooms specifically, but we'll see plants too. And just like the food, I could show you stuff from across the year that you won't see in one day. Unless you're really lucky, that's like 300 morels at once. Really lucky. That is another year in my secret spot. And I had a big dinner. We served morels cooked up. She tried to steal one. And this mouse tried to steal one from me too. Right from under my nose. And this was just last year. So there's really a lot, and very difficult to find, but once you know where to look, it's kind of like a minefield. You're walking and they blend in because they look like old pine cones, right? As soon as you see one, you have to stop walking and realize that you're surrounded by like 40 of them. You get down on your knees, and it's an awful lot of fun. There are another mushroom we'll see in a minute that you don't even have to get down on your knees. I know that might be hard for you, but it's bright orange. It's called lobster mushroom. Actually looks and tastes a little like lobster. I wouldn't lie to you, not exactly. but it sure looks like one.
Sir,
Yes?
how do you fix them? Do you eat them raw or cooked or both?
Very good question. When I say that something's edible, it means cooked when it comes to mushrooms. So morels that we just saw, they're actually poisonous raw.
Good to know.
Be glad that she asked that, right? I was in New York once and I taught a family and we were hanging out in the living room afterwards with some mushrooms that we had found. And someone who didn't come with us showed up and they showed him these mushrooms. They said, he's like, these are beautiful. Can you eat them? And they said, yes. So he was about to put them in their mouth and they all yelled, no, no, no. So this is why I have my, my cooking equipment here. Yeah. Any other important things I forgot to mention? Yes?
Is it just a particular mushroom that's poisonous raw? I don't.
Oh, good. It's a smart crowd. I'm glad you asked. There's several reasons to cook mushrooms, and not all of them are poisonous raw, but they're all indigestible raw. Yeah. So one we're going to see soon is called chicken of the woods. Tastes like chicken, but you need to cook it. And this is not it, but it reminds me to show you. This is just a small piece, dried. It looks like cauliflower, yeah. It's called hen of the woods. And when this was fresh, it looked like this. That big. Yeah. And I'm not sure this will have the greatest smell, but remember, this is like just a fraction of how big it is. And that one too, you need to cook. And that's true for mushrooms in general. So we'll pass this around. This mushroom whole, when I found it, was maybe 20 pounds, and I could easily sell it at least 15 a pound. So what's that? Is that $300? Yeah. And this is how I made a living. For 15 years, I sold to 20, then 30, and I was up to 75 restaurants that I was selling several hundred pounds a year of mostly mushrooms. And now I teach children to do it, and they can find just as much as I did, because they have the time after school. If they're not on the computer or playing a video game, they could be outside gathering these things, you know? Wouldn't that be better for them?
Yes.
Yeah. So if you're afraid to send your kids for mushrooms, you can send them for berries. These are called autumn olive berries. And they're a weed. They take over, and the Biltmore estate pulls these out, like 100 of them at a time. That's how quickly they grow, because the birds love them and they spread them. And they're not from here, so they don't want them taking over. But if you realize that they're edible, then you can get loads and loads of these delicious berries. And what are they like? I'd say they're like a cross in flavor between grapes and raspberries. Yeah. And you can play with them too. Now, back to, yeah, that's really a mushroom. One thing you all might really appreciate about this mushroom, in China, it is called the mushroom of immortality. And it's actually been studied, and it improves longevity. It's also good for 150 other things. You've probably heard of ginseng, right? Ginseng is really famous because it's hard to find, because people have almost eradicated it. It's endangered. But this mushroom, there's plenty of, and it's just as revered in China as ginseng. And in fact, better for you in many ways. And this picture was taken here last year. All these pictures you're going to see are around Asheville, within half an hour of Asheville. And more pictures of the same mushroom, just a little bit older. On my left, that is in Burnsville, and on the right, that's in Candler. So they're all over the place. Sometimes it has a white edge when it's young, and sometimes it's mature. It doesn't. So this is what 75, No, yeah, maybe 60, 70 pounds. And you do the math, this was one day. One outing, we picked all that, and you could make a fortune, I have this fellow's mom has ordered this for cancer. It's well known as a cancer cure. And he just wrote me that his housemate now has cancer too, which, as you know, half the men and a third of the women are getting it. And this is a cure for it. That is dried 300 pounds. That's 100 pounds. The guy has had 300 pounds dried. And that's 750 fresh that was picked by him and his daughter. So we have just a wealth here of not just food, but medicine. And they get really big. But what's interesting is when they're young, if this was a month later and I come back, if you're lucky, I have a good experience, I bring you this edge, this white part, because it tastes like steak.
Wow.
Yeah. And when it gets older, it gets bitter and hard, and you can just boil it and drink the tea like medicine. But when it's young, very few people know that you can just slice through that and cook it up, and it's really meaty. Yeah. So people go to great lengths to find it. It loves to grow over water. Mushrooms need water to grow. That's what, in that poem, I said it all starts with rain. They soak it up and they use hydraulic force to come out. Oh, and this mushroom is so important that this is my friend Jessica. She's an acupuncturist here who was an herbalist before. She teaches a workshop a year to 30 people come just to learn about this one mushroom. Spend all day on how to prepare it and use it. This woman's another acupuncturist, and she's holding a real classic form that you would see in Chinese art. If you see something that looks like a scroll like that, you may not realize that it's an actual mushroom. That's what they're depicting. Yes, and they're fun. And this is the underside of this mushroom. You can actually use it for art too. This isn't a drawing, it's an etching. So you can take a little needle and scratch, beautiful drawings on, and then it dries and it won't scratch anymore. Only when it's fresh do you have like a day or two to etch this artwork, and then it becomes permanent. Let's see. It's fun, right? Yeah, so that will come out about a month from now. And there's a lot